welcome to First Glance with Jody, Vance. And anybody who knows me knows I love the world of sport, and I'm learning much more about esport. I've got a 14-year-old. Every time I talk to our next guest, Tom Hearne, I bring up my son because I do feel like Brady is eventually going to be an investor in Tiidal Gaming Group. The symbol on the Canadian exchange is TIDL. If you're going to look us up while we're chatting, because this is not our first rodeo. Tommy, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
So when last we spoke, the growth here is exponential. Give people just a little bit of the Coles notes before we dive into the updates, because you can go back to the other first glances with Jody Vance with the two of us.
So people have estimated the size of the esports betting market in the range of around 8 billion last year, but most of that, I believe, is actually Asia-based. And so it's a relatively nascent market in Western Europe and North America, which is really where our focus is at the moment. And so when people look at the market doubling over the next 4 or 5 years, most of that is going to take place in Western Europe and North America. As Ontario, for instance, has allowed esports betting, Nevada and New Jersey are looking to rapidly expand their offerings in esports. And I think when those three start to really move from in a North American perspective, the other states will start to follow fairly well. There's about 10 or 12 where esports is available today, some limited, some not so limited. And so I think the success of 3 of the biggest markets in North America will show all the other markets that esports betting is something they should have in their portfolio.
It's really interesting too, and for those who have never watched some of the prior episodes we've done, they might not know about your past history as the CFO of the Score, and you brought forward when apps weren't even a thing. You brought sports into our hands, like literally made it consumable in a way that was super new. I remember a time when my brother mocked me for having my email on my handheld. He's like, "Oh, really? That's a thing?" I'm like,
it is.
Yeah. It is actually, but people are a little bit uncomfortable with change. And the reason I bring that up is because I'm seeing some of the blowback in Canada from people being upset with the idea that betting and gaming is involved in their sports when they're consuming, right? Are you seeing the blowback with that?
But it always has been.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the Ontario market was before it was legalized, was a $10 billion a year sports betting market. Everybody had either a Bet365 account or a William Hill account, etc., because you could, unlike the Americans, you could fund it with your credit card or your debit card. And that's the whole critical aspect to the offshore. So it was legitimate offshore. You didn't need VPNs. You didn't have to worry that if you won, your money was going to get stolen. These were like big legitimate books like Bet365, the largest sports book in the world. So the Ontario market, and I have to explain this a lot to my American friends often as well, was a very mature and is a very mature sports betting market. Now everybody has moved into the Ontario market legally, Bet365, all the others, the Score joined in, etc. So you end up with a very robust market. You end up with, I think, a mature betting market that understands kind of what they want to do from a betting perspective. And therefore, it's better. Generally, all of these markets are much better off if they're above board. And it's all legal, and it's all straightforward, and it's all clear, and it's taxed and regulated. And there's more consumer protections. iGaming Ontario requires all kinds of different timeouts or limited deposit capability, stuff like that. That's what you want. That's a regulated market does that, and that's a good thing.
And I'm so glad, and full disclosure, we did not discuss this beforehand, that I use anything particularly you want to talk about. I said, let's hit record and talk about it, because that's what First Glance with Jody Vance is all about. And I appreciate you, and our relationship is that of trust. I knew you would come at it from a learned POV, right? That the people that are freaking out about this, like, don't you know that gambling is an addiction? Yeah, it is for some people, but for some.
Yes, and that's why, there's regulation. That's why all of the markets, actually, you saw it a lot in the UK and in Western Europe over the last couple of years. Different changes to the regulations, different machines that were outlawed or slowed down, etc. All with respect to consumer protection. Everybody has to take that very seriously in the market, both the suppliers into the market and the people who provide the sports books. And if you don't, the regulators do come down on you. So I believe being a legalized market is better for everybody.
I 100% agree with that. And I think that people just and the reason why I brought up there was once a time where we all thought it was crazy to have emails in our phones is equally that same change that people need to understand that within their Blue Jays broadcast, there are going to be ads for legal.
And what it brings about, especially for the sports leagues, I believe, is it brings about, it can help change interest levels, especially with a live in-game betting, changes your perspective on things. You're paying a little bit more attention because it's like, okay, well, is Bo Bichette going to get another RBI this game or 2 RBIs this game? He's been on a streak for 9 or 10 games in a row. There's a good set of odds. He's hot. Maybe I'll make a little bet on him. And most of those live in-play market bets, people aren't coming in and betting like $1,000 that Bo Bichette will get 2 RBIs. They're throwing $5 into it or $2 into it, and they might make 4 or 5 bets during the game. And esports is very similar that way. Part of the products that we've just created, our brand new product called Flash Markets, is really all about that. It's about watching a League of Legends game or a Dota 2 game live on Twitch or YouTube, wherever the league or tournament's taking place, and then having our companion screen right beside it with all the positions of the players on the board and dynamically updating the odds of which player will get the next kill, which tower will fall next, which team will get the next kill. And if I'm a gamer and I'm somebody who's interested in that team or individual players, it gives me something else to do while I'm watching the game. And it's a fun environment. And normally, as our speculation in building these products has been that the esports market will evolve relatively similar to traditional sports markets in the sense that live betting action will dominate the betting. 70-80% of all bets will be made on in-play betting. And that's because that's where the excitement is. That the days are gone of kind of, okay, I'll throw $5 down on whether the Jays will win or lose, and then I'll check in 3 hours later to see whether that happened. And especially with a millennial or a Gen Z audience that people are going after in an esports who have not really picked up sports betting per se from a traditional sports perspective. They like to play Fortnite or they like to game, and so why not give them a product that is a companion to what they're watching. And that's really what we've been focused on.
And it's so interesting. Let me reiterate before I jump into the next subject. We're with Tom Hearne, the CEO of Tiidal Gaming Group, Tiidal Gaming Group Corp. TIDL is the symbol on the Canadian exchange if you want to look it up. And Tom, when we're talking about that in-game excitement, and not even like in sport game, but in the e-sport genre, as well as you mentioned, just gaming as it's known today, Fortnite being one of the very pinnacle over the last year and a half or what have you. The want to have that engagement and involvement, this is not new. It's just a new face of it. It's like bringing it to the next level, because I remember earliest of days when I was able to go and have a beer in the pub with my parents when I first turned 19, and they would sit there and we would pick numbers off a screen, and they were just random. We'd write down our numbers. Are you going to play along?
Exactly.
We've always wanted to have some kind of little, it's bingo. It's just bingo in a different way.
And I think what we're seeing now, I mean, not to age us, but 30 years ago, that playing Keno or bingo or something was more exciting. These days, the new generations that have grown up on smartphones with an attention span that's measured in nanoseconds is literally, you need interesting live action things going on. Like our odds on our flash markets update every 3 to 5 seconds. And so, there's lots going on, and you just have to do things that are interesting for them. And that's what we really focused on in how we're building product sets out of our Sportsflare group.
So let's get into Tiidal Gaming Group and talk about what's new. And just this past month in August, you did a strategic review. So update.
So we've made some decisions on the strategy side that really we're going to double down on our effort with respect to Sportsflare. It's the one that's the group that we have out of New Zealand. I've got a team of about 25 people down there. We build esports betting products. We believe that we can become the leader in B2B provisioning of esports betting in the world. Our competitors like Odin and PandaScore, we believe we have a competitive edge over in the sense that we've gotten live data from Riot and ESL League games via partner Bays. And that live data and the ability to build this flash markets product that allows you to look at hundreds of bets per game or hundreds of opportunities per game is really what's going to address the market. And so when people have been talking about, or when I argue with people in the sports betting space, well, esports isn't that big yet from a betting perspective. I'm like, no, it's not, because they haven't had the right product.
Right.
It'd be like saying, okay, I can only bet pregame on the Leafs game, so betting on hockey isn't that big yet. Well, of course it's not, because all the exciting stuff isn't there. And so what we've done is we've created player prop betting, we've created parlay betting, and we've created this flash markets product, all that can run off the live data. And therefore, what you've done is you've just dramatically increased the addressable market available. And I think what we hope to accomplish, certainly over the next few months, so I'm in Barcelona next week at the SBC conference, speaking with tons of potential customers, with the idea of, okay, the product's ready, it's got the live data running through it, it's being tested by 4 of our key partners right now. We're getting their feedback, and then we're going to launch it out to about a dozen others. And we're ready now to move that into live sports books. And this is where all of the work in the background will start to now come to the foreground. People, unfortunately, it takes a while to build product, and we haven't seen a lot of revenue come out of that product set yet. But now's the time where I feel we're really going to go on a great growth phase. And then regrettably, as part of that decision, we've decided to find a new home for our Lazarus esports team and our influencers, et cetera. We have a couple of prospects that we're talking to as to where they can potentially go. There's the potential of conflict between owning teams and influencers and people that you can bet on and actually running the odds and the bets on them. And so we've just decided that this is kind of the point where we'll do that. We'll focus on the esports. We'll rebrand at our AGM to a company named Sportsflare. And that'll give us the opportunity to because the product in itself and the name Sportsflare in the sports betting space has amazing brand recognition. So when we go to these trade shows, when I go to ICE London, or when I go to SBC shows, everybody wants to talk about Sportsflare.
Sportsflare.
Actually, when I walk around with my badge that says Tiidal on it, they sometimes get confused. It's like, well, I want to talk to the Sportsflare guy. It's like, okay, so we've decided, okay, well, since we're the Sportsflare guys, let's go and get our name changed, focus on that brand. We're doing some work with a Charlie agency here out of Toronto, who's an advertising group that has helped us kind of rebrand and kind of recreate some of the visuals with respect to that. And all of that's coming out here at SBC as we go to Barcelona, and then a whole series of 3 or 4 different trade shows in the fall where we really think we're going to make some great traction.
Okay, so I want, if you don't mind, would you mind circling back with us after Barcelona? Once you're doing the launch, bring it back here. We'll put up the Sportsflare. We'll show people what they're looking for and really dig into the new brand, because I think that is extremely exciting for you, and really honing in on the piece of the pie in this broad lane in this space, because there's so much happening in this growth space. Fascinating stuff. I kind of feel like I'm breaking news here on First Bounce and Jody Vance. This is fun. I dig it. Thank you, pal. I really appreciate you taking some time. Safe travels, and we'll see you on the other side.
Great. Thank you very much, Jody.